Hello everyone, welcome back to the Echelons YouTube channel. Now, last video, if you're watching the live stream on Israel, I was about to begin with Lotto Soudal and my computer just restarted with no previous warning or anything. I have no idea what happened. The stream got cut. Life goes on. Lotto Soudal. Everything stays the same. Everything normal. It's time to review Lotto and what a team it is to review. There is a lot of national interest in this team, especially this year with a lot of new riders coming in, a lot of very young riders from the under 23 team, 5 riders in total, 6 under 23 riders counting Monique, 7 under 23 riders counting Concha, a lot of focus on young riders coming in. Kamil Malek and Andreas Kronart, 2 other very young and very talented riders. The team completely switching over the backbone, the base of the squad. The main leaders, they all stay. They remain exactly the same, but the backbone of the team is very different. It's a very, very young team. There's a lot of lack of experience, but in the leaders there is potential to have some very good wins. Now, to start off, Caleb Ewan, obviously the headliner of the team, the rider is going to bring the most wins this season as expected, certainly, and I would believe that more than half of the team wins are going to come exactly from him. He's a very, very strong sprinter. Despite being on the field already for several years, he's still 26. He's still fairly young, and he still has lots of years at his best, at his peak, I would say. You know, seeing him sprint like this, absolutely insane. I would say that he's gonna have another big year. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't have, and this year especially the team is even more focused on him. His lead out is all here. Roger Klug is, Tosh van der Saan, Frederick Frison, they are all here. There's several more riders that are going to be with him at the Tour, the Giro and the Vuelta. He's targeting all 3 Grand Tours this season. He's going to try to win a stage in each and every one of them. It's a very, very nice and ambitious goal, and it's good to see Lotto doing it, because they aren't going to have GC ambitions in any Grand Tour. I would say they will have stage wins. E1 is their headliner, and it's going to be a very interesting subplot this season to see if he is indeed capable of doing it. I think he can. To be quite honest, I think he can. He is perhaps the fastest sprinter in the world with that position. Of course, he has some very, very big competition in Sam Bennett, Arnaud Demar, Dylan Groenewegen when he comes back from his suspension. But I think he has a clear road. I think that if he doesn't have any bad luck, that he is capable of doing it. Of course, that it's going to take a toll on him. You know, if he gets, for example, a win very early on in the Giro and then early on at the Tour, it's going to be much easier than if he has to stay the whole race to be able to get one. There's a big difference, but I think he's capable of doing this. John Degenkolb is going to be the leader for the Classics alongside Philippe Gilbert. Now, my opinions on these two is that both of these riders are well past their peak. However, Gilbert looked very good in Omloop at Nieuwsblad last year in the beginning of the season, and Degenkolb looked fairly good. To surprise me, I wasn't expecting it, to be honest. He looked fairly good in the, well, what was left of the Classics campaign, so they still did look solid. Degenkolb is 32, Gilbert is already 38, and if I'm not mistaken, coming back from a serious injury. It's going to be complicated to see them in the Classics. I think that the expectations are going to be quite high, but I don't see them netting a win, netting a podium, and the top 5 very, very difficulty in any of the World Tour cobbled Classics, unless if they focus on Dwarsdorp-Vlaanderen as well. I think there is a chance. The team has a very, very strong and unexpected weapon in Florian Vermeersch, who is just 21. He's just starting his 2nd season in the team, and last year he did very, very well in the Binkbank Tour, and then he also did well in Gent-Wevelgem, if not exactly. Those are the results that he had. 9th in the Binkbank Tour, 13th in Gent-Wevelgem, and this is from a Neo-Pro season. Vermeersch was one of the biggest surprises for me. He's one of those riders who came from nowhere. I had no idea who he is. Surprised me very, very well. I'm very excited to see what he's capable of doing in this classic season. Despite his young age, he seems to be very, very set already within the pro ranks, and he's in a team that will surely give him some space to lead if the opportunity comes, but will give him a free card, I would say. I have no doubt that they will. There's several other riders that can go for the classics. For the Cobble Classics, those should be the main. For the Ardennes, for example, Tim Vellens should be the leader, although, again, Tim Vellens isn't exactly a classic specialist, he's more of a breakaway specialist, but still for races like Brabant Spin, Amstel, and of course several others throughout the year, the Canadian ones for example, they suit him very well. If they're not built on short, steep climbs, those really good ones that suit the climbers a little better, that suit the lightweight riders better. Vellens is a type of puncher that does very well on shallower climbs. He took 2 stage wins in the Vuelta last season, so he's still riding very, very strong. I would expect to see him take some more wins this season. Of course, having that love for the rainy races as well, it also helps a whole lot. You have Thomas de Gent, of course, who can also do very, very well. He's certainly going to get some more wins this season, I'm sure of that. And here you go. I'm sure he's going to get some more wins this season, for sure. Brilliant ruler, can climb very well. He's still, if he's past his prime, he's still very, very close to there. He's an extremely experienced rider. He knows exactly what he does. Just look at this, This is the face of a pro rider, isn't it? I have absolutely no doubt that he's going to net some more wins this season, even if there are some chopping up in the calendar. He's great for experience and for teaching younger riders, the same way he did for Vellens, pretty much. He's an essential piece of the team, and he works a whole lot when he needs to as well. When the team needs, more specifically, Caleb Ewan, usually. The team is really focused on the sprints with Ewan, the stage hunters, like Vellens, like Gilbert will be, like De Gent, obviously. Some more names will pop out throughout the season, no doubt. But there aren't really many other focuses in the team besides that. As I've said, the focus in this season, it really seemed to be in a restructuring of the squad. A lot of experienced and riders that have been in the team for a long, long time, like Sander Armé, Adam Manson, of course, retiring. He will be greatly missed in the peloton. Nicolas Mays, Jelle Valles, very experienced riders that were part of the team. Mays, if I'm not mistaken, is taking the role of director sportif actually at the moment, so he's not going to leave the team in theory. But at least something like 10 riders in here. You know that they're here more for the development. Don't expect much from them this season yet. You have riders like Brent Van Moor, some that have just came on the team, like for example Victor Verschav, and several others. I just closed the transfers tab, but don't mind me, you know who they are. They're going to be getting more experience. I would expect to see, for example, in the Vuelta, just a whole array of, for example, De Gent or Vellens, one of them. I mean, with Ewan targeting the Vuelta as well, there's going to be a lead out there. But there's in the Giro and in the Vuelta, you're just going to see many of these young Belgian riders spread throughout to get some experience. The team is working on developing their future. You look at these names, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here in a row that you barely know about them. You have Gervin Tyson, another very good sprinter in development, who can be one of the biggest surprises this season if he fits in the team very well and he gets a good lead out. The other surprise that I would expect perhaps would be Arm Van Hoek, who did very, very well at the Giro. In one stage specifically, that was the issue, but he did very well nonetheless. That is a result that I do not forget. He finished third and was the fastest rider up the Etna, beating the likes of Kelderman, Fuglsang, Nibali, Maika, eventual stage winner, Giro winner Tao Hart, everyone, just every single rider. He was the fastest up the Etna, and I know that this was early on the race, but this is potential. This is exactly what potential looks like. He eventually cracked some days after. It was in stage 10 that he officially lost the track of the overall race. But I don't think that is an issue. I wasn't expecting him to be there. He is still 23. He's a rider that lacks the consistency, lacks the experience. That is the issue. But he's still very young, and he can't be blamed because I'm sure he also didn't go to the Giro with any expectations of doing what he was able to. I think in this season the team should focus more on building his consistency, his endurance, making sure that he's a complete rider before turning him into perhaps the next Grand Tour contender coming from Lotto Soudal. Clearly that's not the focus that they're going through right now, but in the future anything can happen, and the team has an history of riders like Jurgen Vandenbroek, for example, have done well, and I would expect, with 30 riders or 31, I'm not exactly sure how many are here in total, at least some of them you can expect that they are climbers in the making. Victor Verschav, in fact, is a good example of it. I'm sure we're gonna see them in the Grand Tour again this year, working more for that experience, trying to get a stage, perhaps not focus on the overall, but more on the experience. Now, if we are to name a surprise, a possible surprise, and a disappointment, the riders that I would name would be, well, first of all, for a disappointment, I would put in Philippe Gilbert, and that isn't really something that I would like to say. I'm not exactly sure now which injury it was that was hindering him, but he's slowly been declining over the years, and despite giving some solid looks in Omloop at Newsblad last year, we didn't see him much. Then, it looked like he was in peak form here in Omloop, top 10 in Milano Sanremo, solid results, but I don't see him going through. In the classics, he's not the one, he's not as sharp as the riders coming up like Van der Poel, for example, and Alaphilippe. In the sprints, he's nowhere near the feats of Van der Poel and Van Aert. If you look at team, he certainly does not have the team that other teams like, for example, AG2 are, Bora, De Koning, Lotto Jumbo, not Lotto Jumbo, Jumbo Visma have. It is no match, I would say, and he has a whole lot of experience, and he doesn't have the pressure to keep winning because he has already won pretty much everything that there was to win, except no, I was gonna say Roubaix, but he has won, so I don't think he has a lot of pressure. And I wouldn't expect to see much from him this season. Hopefully we do. I'm not saying this in an objective way that I don't want to see him having results. I think that he won't have many. He's 38, and for classics riders you need to be very sharp, and it's difficult for these older riders to be able to do so. Philippe Gilbert is the rider that I expect to see less from this season, regarding expected. I would also put Matthew Holmes in there, nothing personal, but I think he's a largely overrated rider. And if I am to expect a surprise, this is a team that has a lot of riders that can surprise. I do like that. There's tons of names that you can pick out from here. But I have to do one specifically, and that one would be the rider that I am writing right now on the left side of the screen, Andreas Kron, the Dane, coming from, where did he come from? I don't even remember. Wait. It was from Rival. It was in the Tour of Saudi Arabia, exactly. He won the youth classification. I remember seeing him there very, very well. Almost side by side with Rui Costa, was in perfect shape at the time. Kron is a very explosive puncher. He can sprint very well. He has a win here in the Tour of Luxembourg as well, where he finished 5th last year. Exactly, he won in a sprint against Diego Ulissi and Marcus Hulgaard, two very good sprinters in the field of the punchers. I remember seeing this finish. I do remember, and I believe that in 2000... Wait, was I looking into 2020? Yes, I was. In 2019, let me see. He has some solid results. He has only a win here in the Polish race. He has here 2nd place in the Belgium Tour. You know, I don't know his results perfectly, as you may have guessed, but okay, this is a very good example. This is a stage where he was, yeah, the battle in the Belgium Tour this year was between Evan Paul and Campenarts, both in the time trial and the road races, and you had one rider keeping up with him, Andreas Kron. A lot of potential. He's in a team with riders like Valens and De Gent that can teach him a whole lot about the classics, about the breakaways. He has the potential to sprint. He's very sharp. He's a puncher. And you know what they say about the Danish riders right now? They're evolving really, really well. There's a very strong generation of Dane riders coming through the World Tour. And I would expect to see a lot from him this season already. I think he's already a very set rider. And yeah, that is it for now. Thank you.